Harry, this is Chuck. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
I think everyone is here.
Okie doke. Is there any reason we should not get started?
No.
Okay.
Oh, there is not.
I've got 7:01, so we're
Okay.
Okay, we'll call this. You want to start the recording?
Got it. Here we go.
Recording in progress.
Okay, we'll call this meeting of the Branford Planning and Zoning Commission order. It is Thursday, September 19th, 2024, and I have 7:01 p.m. We'll start by introducing members of the commission and staff. Commission member Joe Chadwick, are you here?
Joe Chadwick is present.
Joe. Fred Russo. Fred, are you here?
Fred Russo is present.
Thank you, Fred. Joe Vayuso. Joe, are you here?
Joe Vayuso present.
Thank you, Joe. Marcy Pelusi. Marcy, you're here?
Marcy Pelusi present.
Thank you, Marcy. Massimo Liguri. Massimo, are you here?
Massimo Liguri is here.
Thank you, Massimo. Sharon Hutner. Sharon, are you here?
Sharon Hutner is here.
Thank you, Sharon. Our staff this evening is our town planner, Harry Smith. Harry, are you here?
I am here.
Our assistant planner, Evan Brining. Evan, are you here? I see you. Yep, waving. And our clerk recording secretary lurking in the cloud is Michelle Martin. I am Chuck Anders, chair. I'll ask our secretary, Fred Russo, to read the notice of public hearing.
Legal notice, Town of Branford. The Planning and Zoning Commission of the Town of Branford, Connecticut hereby gives notice of public hearings to be held on Thursday, September 19th, 2024 at 7 p.m. by remote technology to consider the applications listed below. Information regarding how to participate in the public hearings will be provided on the Commission's meeting agenda that will be posted on the town's website at least 24 hours prior to the meeting. Application number 24-8.7, special exception for grading, section 6.8 for automobile leasing, located at 4 Liesel Lane, LRAC LLC, in care of attorney Bernie Pellegrino, applicant, AJGG Realty LLC, in care of Paul Menachino, owner. Application 24-8.5, special exception for an accessory apartment located at 179 Boston Road, Alexander Grindley, applicant and owner. Application 24-8.6, special exception for grading, section 6.8 for an accessory apartment located at 179 Boston Road, Alexander Grindley, applicant and owner. Application 24-7.5, special exception for grading, section 6.8 for fill behind a retaining wall within 100 feet of an inland wetland located at 38 Howard Avenue, Kim McCabe and Charles Watts, applicants and owners. At said hearings, all persons will have the right to be heard. Copies are on file in the Planning and Zoning Commission office at the Planning and Zoning Department at 1019 Main Street, Branford, Connecticut 06405. Written communications may be sent to the above address or to planning and zoning at branford-ct.gov. Branford Planning and Zoning Commission, C. Andres, chairperson.
Chuck Anders, chair. Thank you, Fred. We'll follow a normal format for public hearings, which means that the applicant goes first, make a presentation, including any experts. After the applicant explains its application, we turn it over to staff and the commission, typically hear a summary of a staff report. And after that, we open up for questions and comments from commission members. At that point, we have the public portion. And at that point, I'm going to ask Evan to explain the process in a second, but we ask that you state your name and record for the name and address for the record. Make your comments. And when the public portion is done, we allow the applicant to respond to any public comments. We may or may not close the public hearing. It's certainly not unusual to continue a public hearing for over a number of applications, depending on the complexity of the application. And with that, I'll ask Evan to review the process for applicants and public to participate in the public hearing via Zoom here.
Sure. If your computer has a microphone and you'd like to participate, you can press the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. If you're dialing in by phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. You can also type into the chat that you'd like to participate. We ask that everyone please state their name at the beginning of their comment or question.
Chuck Anders Chair. Thank you, Evan. With that, we'll turn to the items as listed on our agenda. The first item is A&R LLC, Amon Eula applicant, Fusco Branford Industrial Care of Louis Pepe owner. And retail store above 3,000 square feet. My understanding is that this we opened this application at our last meeting, and it's continued to our meeting on October 17th. So we are not hearing any additional testimony on that one tonight. So if you, from some reason you're here on that and want to know what's going on with that one, we're going to continue that public hearing at our regular meeting on October 17th. So nothing's happening on that one. So that then brings us to items number 2 and 3, which is the same property. It's a Locke LLC, care of Bernie Pellegrino applicant. AJGG Realty LLC, care of Paul Minicino owner, 4 Liesel Lane. This is a special exceptions for automobile leasing and for a 6.8 grading application. And is the applicant ready to get started with this one?
Ready to go, Mr. Chair.
Excuse
Good
me,
evening.
Chuck.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Marcy Luzzi, I need to recuse myself on this.
Okay, thank you, Marcy. So let the record reflect that Marcy has recused herself with this application. Thank you, Marcy. Mr. Pellegrino, you can proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and good evening to you and members of the commission. For the record, my name is Bernard Pellegrino. I'm an attorney with the Pellegrino Law Firm in New Haven. I represent the applicant, LRAC LLC, in regard to these applications. As you mentioned, we have 2 special exceptions. With me this evening is John Petrie. He's a representative of LRAC. And also with us is Luke Sofair from Garcia and Associates. He's our project civil engineer, as well as Edward Damore, who's our project architect and planner. I would expect, Mr. Chair and Evan, that all of those folks would probably participate. Not so sure about John, but if there's any questions for John, and I would hope that Ted would be able to share his screen to bring plans up if there's anything you need to do computer-wise to allow that to happen. Evan, I would appreciate it if you could. There may not be much, but
I believe Harry made Ed Damore a co-host. He should be able to unmute himself and share his screen. And Harry, have you done the same for Luke?
I have, and as well as John.
all right, great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So we're here to discuss property located at 4 Liesel Lane. I don't know if you're all familiar with the site, but it's located off Route 1 behind the Sherman-Williams store, located, proximate to the firehouse, for instance, or Cedar Street, just kind of in that area on the south side of Route 1. It's a 27,000 square foot parcel, improved with a building a little bit over 2,000 square feet. It's located in the BL zoning district, and our proposed use, automotive leasing, is permitted in the use by special exception. Most recent use of the site was for automotive repairs and used car sales. I would note that also for the record that the notice has been provided for both of these applications. So the proposal is that our client seeks to redevelop this site for use as an enterprise car rental facility. You probably know that Enterprise has an existing facility in town, and they are seeking to relocate from the existing site, which I think is 155 West Main Street, where they've been for probably about 22 years, to this site on Lisa Lane. The proposal would be to make interior and exterior aesthetic improvements to the existing building without expanding the footprint. The building, which the interior floor plan Ted will share later in the presentation, will contain an office, contain a waiting area for customers, customer service areas, restrooms, and then an area for the intake of vehicles as they come offline, where they would be cleaned and prepared for re-rental. There would be no vehicle maintenance or repair work
Recording
performed
stopped.
on
Recording in
site.
progress.
Am I okay, Harry? Okay.
You're good.
And there would be no storage of any non-operable vehicles on this site. Enterprise has separate facilities for vehicle repairs. They have separate facilities for the storage of and repair of damaged vehicles. That will not happen on this site. Exterior would be, and again, Ted will show us some of the new elevations, but the building will get a facelift. It'll be repainted, some changes to some of the existing garage doors and elimination of loading areas. And I think you'll find that it's a significant improvement to the building. Similarly, the site will be redeveloped. You'll see our landscaping plan, which has been professionally designed. You will see improvements to the parking facility. There's also a slight expansion of the parking facility. And Luke will tell you about what I think is a significant improvement to our stormwater management system. Presently, there is none. So the water comes and runs off site. And as proposed, we've designed a system that will take our stormwater into an underground system. We'll clean it, we'll dispose of it without increasing, in fact, probably decreasing peak flows and volume off-site. Noteworthy, I think, in that regard is the project has gone before your Inland Wetlands Commission, and we received an approval from the commission in June. So as far as the use is concerned, on an average day, as I note in the statement of use, which I think you all have, we estimate approximately 15 rentals with 10 to 12 vehicles available for rent on the site at any given time. Overall, we'll employ about 13 employees at the facility, 6 full-time and 7 part-time. Staffing levels at any given time is approximately 4 to 6 on site at any one time. And the hours of operation are expected to be Monday through Friday from 7:30 to 6 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday from 9 to 1 p.m. As I mentioned, the use is permitted on this site by special exception, and we've submitted a special exception application and site plan, and we believe the plan meets your special exception criteria under the regs. As I mentioned, it would be an improvement to the existing site, both as far as aesthetics, as far as reducing the intensity of the usage. I've seen photographs, aerial photographs of recent vintage where there were many cars on this site. This would be a reduction of that. No repairs on the site. It's compatible with the surrounding uses. The back of the building, which fronts on Route 1, I call it the Sherman-Williams building. I think there's probably a couple of tenants. The rear of that building abuts the side, the north side of our site, and in proximity to the east and west are residential units. There's a multi-tenant, multi-unit facility to the east. We'll show you some aerial photos of that in a minute, which is buffered by significant existing vegetated area, including a 25-foot drainage easement in favor of the town. And similar to the south, an existing vegetated buffer, both on-site in the wetland area and on properties located to our south where there's existing vegetation. We've also filed, as was mentioned in the agenda, a special exception for grading. The grading is primarily, and the need for that special exception is for the work that's going to be done, which Luke will explain, for the underground stormwater management system, which, as I said, will be, I think, a significant improvement for this site, given the existing conditions and the lack of any stormwater management system and ability to, with the oil water separator, to clean sediments out of runoff before they're distributed either toward the wetlands or into the adjacent systems. As I mentioned, we've submitted a professionally designed landscaping plan, which Ted will share with you. We also think that's a significant improvement. In advance of this hearing, we did receive some preliminary comments from staff, and we've submitted a pre-hearing memorandum, and that aerial photography that I mentioned earlier that shows the existing buffer screening. You know, we're abutted by residential zones and residential properties, as I mentioned earlier, to our east and south. And as you'll see in that in that aerial photo, we I think comply with the residential district green buffer and other buffering as a result of the landscaping of excellence in landscaping design that we've submitted. So we think that the plan and the improvements we're making to the site and the operations that we're proposing are in accordance with the special exception criteria, and we would look forward to your approval. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Luke and from Garcia and Associates, our civil engineer, to discuss the site plan and the stormwater system improvements. And maybe Ted, if you could share the site plan that Luke has prepared, that would probably assist him in this discussion.
Yeah, for the record, Luke Sofair. I'm a civil engineer with John Paul Garcia and Associates, 190 Fairwood Road, Bethany, Connecticut. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Connecticut. So as Bernie touched on, I don't want to, reiterate too much, but we'll just hit some of the high points with you have the site plan in front of you. Ted, if you could zoom in on the site, we can go through the current site layout, what's being proposed, and then turn it over and go over the landscaping and the architecture. So as Bernie mentioned, the
Excuse me,
current site.
Luke, can I just interrupt? Ted, could you go down to Luke's site plan, please?
Ted, you're muted.
Hold on. Okay, thank you. Give me just a second.
C101.
I shared, bingo. C100 is the existing conditions, 101. Here we are.
Bingo. Thanks, Ted.
Let me make it big.
There you go.
Luke, anytime you want me to move this around, to zoom in, anything, let me know.
Thank you, Ted. Yeah, so as Bernie mentioned, this is for Lisa Lane. It's approximately a 0.64 acre site in the VL zone. The current building is a currently conforming building when it comes to setbacks. We are not proposing any exterior modifications to the building, so nothing from that perspective is going to change. What we are proposing, as Bernie mentioned, is an expansion to the parking area in the rear of the building, which is the hatched area to the rear. As part of that, we're going to be doing some restriping to provide parking spaces well in excess of what's required by the zoning regulations for the zone, which we believe obviously is prudent as a car use business. So we're going to have plenty of parking on site, both along the side, in the front, and in the rear. A major portion of what we're proposing is the substantial stormwater management improvements that Bernie mentioned. So currently there are no stormwater management improvements. All of the stormwater from the site, both from the parking area and from the building, is currently discharged directly into the drainage ditch, which is on the eastern side of the property. What we are proposing is to basically separate the source of the stormwater from the discharge. So we're still keeping a standard catch basin and pipe system within the parking lot and roof leaders from the building. What we are installing before the discharge is a Cultec underground stormwater gallery system, which does two things. It treats the runoff. We've designed it so that the water quality volume, which corresponds to the 1.3 inches of rain over all impervious surface, basically the one-year storm, is treated so that achieves reduction of suspended solids and stuff like that. As well, it treats and infiltrates a significant amount of the stormwater into the ground so that for all storms from the 1 year all the way up through the 100-year storm, we've reduced both the quantity and the peak flow rate of stormwater leaving the site, which should be a significant help because that is, as I mentioned, a drainage swale, a town-owned drainage swale that treats runoff from other properties besides ours. So through this development, even though we are adding some impervious area, we're reducing by over 30% for all storm events, the amount of stormwater that's leaving the site. As well, like Bernie mentioned, the need for a special exception for the grading solely stems from the fact that we're putting a significant number of stormwater chambers. We just need to remove some soil from that area in order to be able to fit the chambers and the stone and stuff like that. So everywhere else in the rear area, the parking area is basically a match existing grade. The grading only has to come from removing some material, and it's not much. I think it's only about 200 cubic yards, and that number was indicated on the application, but just enough to allow us to install that. Finally, I'll let Ted touch on the landscaping, but I think a big thing to note about this is we're not, like Bernie mentioned, we're not increasing the intensity of the use here. All of the proposed improvements for this property are falling within the existing limits of disturbance for the property. We're not proposing any new clearing. We're not proposing to infringe on any of the existing vegetation or natural screening that we have from the east and the south. Everything we're doing is basically improving the existing site within the current limits of disturbance. So that's all I have. I can pass it on to Ted to go through the architecture and the landscaping, and then I'm welcome to answer any questions that the commission might have.
Luke, before you check off and we go to Ted, can you talk briefly to peak flows offsite as well as volume offsite as a result of the introduction of the new stormwater management system?
Absolutely. So Under best practices in stormwater design for the state of Connecticut, they recently updated it in 2023 to account for um, basically the increased intensity of all these storm events that we've been having. So it's a good time to be improving the drainage on the site. But there's really two aspects that you try to design for when you're improving a site. The quantity of water leaving, which is the pure volume of water, which contributes to stuff like, obviously flooding, um, but stuff for water, issues with any downstream channels or stuff like that. You'd reduce that, and then you also reduce the peak flow rate in the runoff, which again contributes to flooding and stuff like that. So in both cases, we've reduced it, like I mentioned, by up to 30% for all storm events. And that's been submitted and reviewed by the town engineer as part of the wetlands approval
Okay.
process.
And that would include, Luke, flows that go to our south toward some of those neighbors to the south.
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you, Luke. Ted, since we're talking about the site, why don't you share with the commission the landscaping plan?
Before I do the landscaping, I'm going to bring up this drawing we made that shows the neighborhood we're in and the screening vegetation that exists around our building as soon as it comes up. Bernie referred to this in his opening remarks. This is our building. This is the Sherwin-Williams building here. We have another building here. I have photographs from the ground if you want to see what these buildings look like. But in terms of the screening, these multifamily condos up here are more than 300 feet away from our site. There's a lot of screening here, a lot of screening here. There's a wetlands in here at the bottom of which is the town's drainage easement, and that's right in here, but you can't see it for the trees. This is the screening that's in the back of our site. There's another easement in the back of our site, and it's heavily treed with a lot of mature trees. There are mainly maples, but there are some oaks and hickories and sycamores as well. So I wanted to show that to you before I move on to the landscape drawing. All right. Presently, on our site, we didn't have a proper setback from the street. Over the years, the previous people that used the site had let the asphalt grow into the setback area. We're going to cut the asphalt back and re-vegetate this area. We have ornamental cherry trees out by the front and a combination of 2 or 3 different evergreen varieties of shrubs in here. These trees in here are the mature oaks and maples and sycamores. Here are 2 new hornbeam trees that we're proposing for the back. And there's this area in here is our easement, your easement that has a lot of mature trees in here. Luke and his team surveyed all the trees for us, so I'm glad we have them. Originally, there was a 2-foot wide planter in front of our building that over the years, previous users of the building had paved it over with asphalt. We are expanding this to 4 feet wide on the advice of our landscape architect and planting it with mountain laurels, summer sweets, and compact junipers and inkberry trees. I'll tell you about that when I talk about the architectural aspects of the site plan. But the regulations are that we should have 25% of the building area perimeter covered with planting, and that would amount to 52 feet, and we have 55 feet. We've taken it as far as we can here at the front where we have a new landing to get into the building, and we've taken it as far as we can on this side of the building before we come up to our gas meter and other utility equipment over here. So that's what we have for the landscaping. I would like to show you what we have inside the building. We have the front part of the present building that was office area before is going to be gutted out and rebuilt with offices in a different layout. It's going to have a handicap toilet room for the public to use should they need it. The area with the 3 automobile bays here will be our car wash area, and that's the use overall in the site. The building is a few steps up from the pavement, so we are putting in handicap access to get into the building. There'll be a new landing, 3 steps down to grade, and this is the ramp that will take the people up to the landing, and they can get right into the building. We have a trash collection area that'll have a fence around it, and that's mainly it for the site design. I have some photographs of the building. If you're not familiar with the site, I wouldn't mind showing them to you. And I have a detailed plan of the inside of the build. Well, let me finish with the site. We had our electrical engineer design a new lighting system to replace what's there. And if you have had a chance to look at this drawing, you'll see that all the light levels at the property line are down to 0, as per the regulations. So we are keeping with the good neighbor policy and not shedding any light into the neighbors' properties. I can just show you a little bit what's going on inside the building. This is what they have now, and this is what we are proposing: office area, car wash area, handicapped ramp, and the all right, let me show you the front of the building first. The front of the building has not had any work done in recent years. The sign will come down. I have renderings to show what we're proposing, but just in terms of elevation, this is what it looks like in detail, and it's going to look 100% better. On the side elevations, years ago, somebody punched a window in and they couldn't get any siding to match, so they made a hodgepodge out of it. And we're going to take this out and get siding to match that is used elsewhere in the building. In the back, there's kind of a doghouse kind of a structure that doesn't look right. We're taking that off, and we're taking this shed roof off, and we are going to have a building on the back side that looks like, sorry, it's getting away from me. Here's the back side of the building. The shed is gone. The door will be flush with the facade, and we have a stairway for our second means of egress to get out the building. All the building code things that I have to worry about. So that is what's going on with the building. Shall we look at the renderings now?
Yes, please. Thanks, Ted.
All right. I have to stop sharing because I have to open up a different program. Give me a second. It's right on here. I got it. Nope, here they are. All right, this is a view across our land. This rendering is just of the building. It's not showing our planting system nor the correct parking. It does show the side where the screening is with all the mature trees on our side yard, but let's talk about the building. We'll have a new sign.
We don't see it,
You want to
Ted.
be in share mode. Excuse me.
Oh, I'm not sharing yet? Oh,
Not
I'm
yet.
sorry. let me get back to sharing. Zoom. Sorry. Are we looking at, are you seeing?
Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right, so the facade will all be cleaned and repainted. We have a new sign going in. We have some graphics, company graphics at the top of the storefront. The storefront's going to remain. I'll show you from this side. We'll have new garage doors. The facade again, power washed and painted. And because this is just the building before I designed the handicap ramp and all, which is going in this area, you're not seeing that, but the entrance of the building remains here on the side elevation. And there you go. There's another view. Any other questions about the building facade?
I think that was great, Ted. Thanks.
All right. I have some photographs of the neighborhood if anyone wants to see them. It's
I
not the
think we're
easiest
good.
thing
We're
to
probably
get
good
them.
for now.
You're all set?
I
Okay.
think so. Thank you.
I'll stop sharing unless
Okay.
somebody wants me to have the drawings up to answer any questions. Back to you, Bernie.
Okay, thank you very much. That's kind of our presentation for tonight. We've been working with Evan and staff to try to work through some of the issues, and I think we've accomplished a fair amount. But we've submitted some revisions and actually even some based on conversations today to clean up some of the drawings. There may be a question with the town engineer as to the stormwater system the location of the underground clean out there, the stormwater separator. So, based on my discussion with Evan, as a result, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, there is no final staff report yet, and thought that we might have to go over until October 3rd. But we're happy to answer any questions that you all may have about what we've presented or any issues that you saw that you thought we need to flesh out a bit more between now and that time.
Chuck Anderson, thank you, Mr. Pellegrino. First, I'll turn it over to staff, Evan and Harry. I don't think that we have a formal staff report at this point. Do you want to comment on progress or what or anything about the applications and perhaps the issues that staff is reviewing?
I did not, or we received some revisions last Friday. My schedule did not allow me to review that submission. Unfortunately, I do apologize. But I anticipate having conditions of approval ready for our October 3rd meeting. Yeah, everything I think should be worked out before then. And I think they even covered most of the things that I had pointed out in that staff report already.
Great. Was the town engineer, I mean, obviously stormwater is a concern, and it sounds like from Mr. Pellegrino that there's communications. I assume it's direct communications with that, but is staff involved with any part of that, or is that, are you aware of what the concerns are?
I believe the location of the oil water separator that's proposed. The engineer had some comments about that. So I think some very minor changes to the site plans should take care of those issues.
Great. Thank you, Evan. Maybe I'll just ask one question. Evan, you did forward an email from a note from one of the neighbors at 18 Clancy, which I think is the residential that abuts the residential area that abuts to the west, and they were concerned about flooding near the rear of their property, which I assume butts there. I think, Mr. Pellegrino, you were kind of loading that up to suggest that that's going to be addressed by the addition of the stormwater the improvements which don't exist now, but perhaps Mr. Sofair or someone could address specifically that neighbor comment about flooding at 18 Clancy in the rear.
Yeah, I can address that. So as it is currently, I don't know if Ted, you want to pull the C101 back up just so we can show the location of 18 Clancy in relation to our improvements, so it makes more sense for everybody.
This thing, so I can't get to the, trying to get to the drawing to open, and one of the things is covering it. Just a second. There it is. Okay, got it. C10, nope, sorry. C101, here we are, back
For
again.
18 Clancy, I believe, is just to the bottom right of our site, pretty much due south, which would be on the other side of that drainage channel that we referenced earlier. This will all go back to the fact that there currently is no stormwater treatment on the site. We are proposing a significant barrier between the generation of the stormwater, which is the impervious area, and the discharge of the stormwater, which will reduce the amount of again, the quantity and the peak flow rate leaving the site. And all of the current and proposed stormwater leaving the site does end up in that drainage channel. So by virtue of reducing the amount of water and the rate of the water leaving the site, it should only improve the flooding concerns related to our property specifically. Again, there's a larger watershed than just our site that discharges into that drainage channel. But from our site specifically, which is what we address when we're doing a stormwater management design, again, we're achieving 30% reduction in the peak flow and the quantity from the site.
I could add to that something that might be helpful for that person to know. The gravel that was here before was pretty compacted, and there was no curb around it. The new parking area we're making with asphalt is slightly raised at the corners, so it will definitely pitch towards the drains, and it's got a curb around it, and that will help to control the water and keep it on our site. I think Luke might have overlooked mentioning that, but that's a helpful thing that his site design has done.
Thank you.
Correct. Thank you, Ted.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from commission members before we, or staff before we open up to the public? Hearing none then, are there any members of the public that wish to comment at this time? Evan, do you see anybody?
I would like to, Perry Maresca, if I can.
Yes, Mr. Maresca.
So Perry Maresca, Branford Economic and Business Development for the town of Branford. So I think this is ideal for Branford. It's repurposing an existing building for a like use with upgrades in physical, environmental, and aesthetic appearance. I think it's a definite improvement of the property and the existing building. It should be welcome to the area. It's a new use for a car rental, which will have less vehicles than the previous use as a used car dealership. So I would imagine that the neighboring properties and most of the town of Branford would be in favor of something like this. And as an economic development aspect, I strongly recommend that this gets approved. So thank you very much.
Chuck Andershire, thank you, Mr. Maresca. Are there other members of the public that wish to comment? Evan, do you see anybody?
I do not see anyone.
Okay. Okay. My understanding then is staff Evan indicated that he hadn't thoroughly reviewed the plans. Engineer still had some questions. So my understanding is we're likely going to continue this to our next meeting, which was going to be October 3rd. Hopefully allow staff and our town engineer to button down things. Does the applicant have any further comments at this time? I don't even see Mr. Pellegrino anymore. Where is he?
I was going to let him speak for the group. As the architect, I've got nothing to add.
Okay. Did we lose him? Did he? I don't know.
No,
Can't see him on the call, actually. No, I don't see him. He might have got bounced off somehow. The computer glitch. Who knows?
Okay.
I'll speak. John Petrie with LRAC LLC, Property and Facilities Manager.
Oh, there he's back. Okay.
He's back.
Okay.
Saved me from speaking.
Bernie and Mr. Pellegrino, there you are. Okay. I'm sorry. I think we lost you for a second. We just we completed the public comment. I said that we're going to continue this to our October 3rd meeting. There were some still staff review issues, but anticipate an opportunity to button those down. But asked if the applicant had any further comments before we close the matter and continue it to our next meeting.
I don't think so. Sorry about that. I just went blank all of a sudden. It was weird. I don't think so. I don't have any. If anybody else on the team did, I think we'll be back on October 3rd, Evan thought, and hopefully have those last few issues ironed out. And we look forward to coming back and hopefully receiving your approval. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Pellegrino. Any further comments from commission members or staff? Hearing none, then we will continue these matters, item 2 and 3, our agenda, to our October 3rd meeting. Again, that's Thursday, October 3rd, 7 o'clock Zoom meeting, same way as this meeting. So thank you, Mr. Pellegrino.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
That brings us into our next item on the agenda. That's item number 4, which is Charles Watts, applicant and owner, 38 Howard Avenue, special exception for grading and single-family residence. My understanding from staff is that the applicant has requested that we postpone the opening of the public hearing until November 21st. I understand there is a pending proceeding before the Zoning Board of Appeals. Probably wise to have that resolved before this opens. But is that correct, Harry and Evan?
That's correct.
Okay. So we're not even going to open this one, just so it's clear that we're going to renotice it and start the public hearing on November 21st, and the applicant has granted the extensions, I believe. Is that what you had mentioned, Gary? Or anything else staff wants to mention about that?
My hand gestures were intended to to indicate yes, that the applicant has offered a time extension that would be needed to delay the opening of the public hearing till October 21st. I mean, excuse me, November 21st.
Okay. So that covers that item. So next, our next items are items 5 and 6. Again, the same property. That's Alexander Grindley, applicant and owner. The address is 179 Pawson Road. This is special exception coastal site plan for an accessory apartment and a 6.8 a grading application as well. Is the applicant ready to proceed on that one?
Harry, could you make Christopher Lacharia co-host?
Sure. Okay. Anybody else?
I believe that's it.
Okay.
Harry, this is Massimo. I'm having a problem with my speaker. I hear you guys very low. So I'm going to hang up and get back on. Just get me back on, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
I'm going to try that.
Okay. Thanks, Massimo. We'll you'll be joining us in a second.
Well, also maybe noting for the record that Commissioner Paluzzi is rejoining us.
Okay.
She just recused for that item.
Right. For
the other 2 items, excuse me, public hearing 2 and 3, right?
Okay. So Marcy's back with us for items 5 and 6.
Yeah, I'm going to note that also, since I've got the floor for 1 second, that I believe Sharon Hutner was the last of two alternates to act. So Massimo would be up for the continued public hearing on October 3rd.
Harry?
That's correct.
Harry,
That's
it's
on my
Marcy.
records as
Hi.
well.
Sorry about that. Harry?
Yep, I hear you.
Done with items 2 and 3. I just want to know for the record that I'll be recusing myself for item 4.
Item 4, item 5, and 6.
No, item 4, 38.
Item 4, okay, which we didn't even get. Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, it looks like I see Massimo. Looks like he's back.
I hear you guys great now. Thank you.
Great. Okay. So why don't we get started with the public hearing for items 5 and 6, 179 Pawson Road. Mr. LeCurry, you ready to proceed?
Yes, Commissioner Andre. Good evening to you, sir, and the members of the commission. And the LRAC presentation is a tough act to follow, but I'll do my best. As the agenda reflects, this is a special exception application for two matters. Same property, it's a residential property. And the intent here is for the owner to construct a new residence, essentially in the footprint of the existing residence, and to add an accessory apartment. This is a family home that's been in the family for some time, and the intent is to have the in-laws reside from time to time in the accessory dwelling. We have been working with staff, and unlike the LREC matter, we have the good fortune of a staff report. We did address some questions today about the size of the proposed accessory dwelling, and it would be 546 square feet. And otherwise, we are in agreement with the conditions that I understand will be imposed. And then with respect to the grading, the purpose of the grading is for a fairly small portion to increase the grade in order to have some posts secured for an exterior deck. So I'm happy to address any questions that any member of the commission may have.
Chuck Candace, Chair. Thank you, Mr. LeCurry. Why don't we turn it over to Evan for a summary of the staff report, which I think was emailed to us.
Thank you.
Yes, like Attorney Cherry said for us, this is an accessory apartment special exception as well as grading within 100 feet and a coastal site plan for construction of a single family home within that 100-foot buffer as well. They meet the bulk requirements for the R3 district, and they did get a variance from the ZBA to expand a second story within that front setback. They are in the coastal management district, and we have a section in section 5.1D. States in coastal site plans where they're environmentally sensitive or ecologically fragile natural resources, the commission may require the provision of a vegetative buffer in order to protect and preserve such resources. I've added condition to my staff report, should you guys choose to add that condition or that requirement on there tonight. They meet the parking standards. I also added a condition for any lighting would have to meet the requirements of section 6.7. They meet the 3-to-1 slope ratio, and I did not see a stockpile on the site, but I believe the regrading after discussions with the builder was proposed to use some fill that is already on or from the excavation from the expansion of the basement. So if the engineer does not feel that a stockpile is needed, the condition allows that option. The commission would need to find that the erosion control measures that are proposed, to the extent that they are alternative from the Connecticut Deep 2002 guidelines, are acceptable. They meet the retaining wall criteria from section 613, as well as the accessory apartment criteria. I'd asked them to confirm the square footage of the apartment, which they did this afternoon in writing and earlier before during their discussion. They meet the coastal site plan criteria as well as the special exception criteria. Staff recommends one finding that the coastal site plan is consistent with the goals and policies of the Coastal Area Management Act, as well as 3 conditions. Condition number 1, prior to the start of construction, the following shall be completed to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer. The grading plan shall be revised on sheet 2 to show the stockpile area if it's deemed necessary by the project engineer, as well as erosion control measures shall be installed, and any necessary measures to control any dust generated by fill brought into the site or movement of earth may be implemented. Condition 2, any lighting has to be compliant with section 6.7. And 3, prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, the applicant shall install a vegetated buffer with appropriate and salt-tolerant plant species consistent with the deep guidelines. And the owner of the accessory apartment shall file a deed restriction on the land records requiring that the unit, if rented, be rented at prices that would qualify as affordable housing. We did also refer this project to Deep for any comments, but we have not received anything yet. If anything does come back, we will enter it into the file.
Thank you, Evan.
Chuck Anderson, thank you. Thank you, Evan. Questions or comments from commission members before we open up to the public?
Yeah, this is Massimo. I have a question for Evan. I was wondering if you had any drawings on this project.
Absolutely. Let me bring them up.
Okay, thank you.
Here is the grading plan. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here. You can see this dotted line here is the existing home that's proposed to be removed, I believe. Actually, no, I'm mistaken. This plan has the existing home here in this lighter color that's proposed to be demolished and replaced with this larger home. Here's the front setback showing where that second story would be built, where one exists now. And just going back to that grading plan, here's the areas proposed to be graded. There is an existing retaining wall here, and they're proposing to extend it a little bit this way, I believe, to make a little bit of a flatter backyard here for the family.
Thank you, Evan.
Other questions or comments from commission members?
Yes, Evan, can you leave the drawing up, please?
You got it.
Is that work outside of the 100-year upland review area? Am I seeing that correctly?
No, I believe the 100-foot buffer is not marked on the plan, and the back of the house is 80.
There's a 50. I see it now. I'm just curious if it's gotten through wetlands. Can you hear me okay?
I'm sorry, was that a question?
I'm just saying, yeah, the question is, has it gotten through wetlands yet?
No, this is a tidal wetlands here. We had the applicant inquire with the Inland Wetland Department. They determined that no approvals were needed from their commission.
Okay.
And Evan, Chuck Anders, is the coastal resource at issue tidal wetlands?
Yes.
Okay. And does the staff have a recommendation about the coastal buffer, the vegetated buffer that I know you recommended that you have it as a condition of approval? I think our regulations encourage that when there's critical coastal resources nearby. And I suppose the question is the tidal resource, or the resources here? I know the location, it's pretty close to the water there, but is the staff have a recommendation that about the installation of the vegetated buffer?
Yeah, we recommend the installation of the buffer.
Okay. Other questions or comments from any members of the commissioner staff before we open up the public? Hearing none, then let's open it up to the public. Does any member of the public wish to comment?
I do not see anyone.
Okay. So it appears there's no public comment. Mr. Clary, do you have any additional comments you'd like to make at this time?
No, thank you.
Okay. Any further comments from commission members or staff? Hearing none, then I think we can close these two matters as a public hearing, and this may be something we can take up shortly. Thank you, Mr. LeCurry.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it for our public hearings. So why don't we cover the matters that we may be able to take up, which by coincidence happens to be 179 Boston Road. Evan, can you pull up your staff report recommendations for that one?
I can. I divided them between the grading special exception and the accessory apartment one, and I included the CAM application and the accessory apartment application.
Okay, and I think you reviewed some of these during the public hearing. Is there anything you need to highlight before we move forward on these?
Nope, I covered them all when I reviewed them before.
Okay.
Can I actually ask a question? Because I just pulled it up on my map. And I seem to recall we had an application about, and I don't know if it was this property, but about water that was coming across down from Spring Cove Road across Boston Road near where this property is. I'm just curious if it's the same one and if this work is being done to correct a water situation or the new structure being proposed to lift it out of, lift its elevation.
I believe the project is outside of the flood zone. And
Yeah, there's no contours. I see it now.
yeah, no one mentioned the issues of water coming from Spring Cove Road.
It was an old application. I just remember from another application, and it may have been one of the neighbors, but it actually may have been 185. But yeah, I mean, I didn't know what, like you're showing the flood elevation at 12 feet based on the GIS. I'm just wondering if any elevation certificates or what the elevation. I'm hoping that the house would be upward of elevation 13, given what I'm seeing here.
I believe it is. It's plans to be regraded to 15. And I believe we also had the applicant, we had the town engineer join discussions with the applicant, who let them know what would be required to, have I believe the floodplain altered or the flood zone altered very slightly because of this grading.
Yeah, I mean, the grading looks minimal for sure. It just took me a minute to catch up on the application. I think he just went a little too fast for me tonight. But thank you. Sorry about that.
Thanks, Marcy. And does anyone else have any commission members have any general comments about anything, questions or comments about the application? If not, then does someone want to make a motion to approve the special exception coastal site plan, the accessory apartment and CAM application? I assume the affordable restrictions part of that, right, Evan?
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, I think you may have reviewed that. Yes. Okay. So, and again, by adopting the staff recommendation, the finding and the conditions for the accessory apartment and CAM application that are in the staff report that was sent to us and that Evan is projecting in front of us right now. So that would be the number 5, the special exception coastal site plan application. And then we vote separately on the grading application.
Can I ask one more question? I apologize.
Sure.
I thought when Evan was reviewing the site plan that they were rebuilding the whole house. Is this accessory apartment one part of the?
Yes, it's proposed to be on the interior
Can you
of
just show me where the house is and where the accessory apartment is? I'm just being a little confused tonight.
Sure.
Because it shows a 2-story dwelling, and you're changing the whole footprint with the deck, but I don't really understand where not the apartment itself, but I mean, it's the whole structure of the apartment, or are they rebuilding the house?
They're demolishing the house and rebuilding a whole new one.
So why is it in as an accessory apartment? Why wouldn't it just be in as a new,
Because
We're
it's a
building
single
a-
family home and they're changing the use from a single family home to a single family home with an accessory apartment.
Okay. And that's okay. As opposed to a two-family.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you. Now I
Right.
understand.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's not a detached accessory apartment, but one that's within
Mhm.
the existing dwelling.
Yeah. It sounds like a two-family. I'm not sure what the legal differentiation is in this case, but it's fine.
Okay, that said, would someone like to make a motion to approve the application by adopting the staff recommendation and conditions?
Fred Russo makes that motion.
Motion by Fred to approve the application and adopting the staff findings and conditions. Is there a second?
Chadwick seconds.
Second by Joe Chadwick. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Joe Chadwick,
Joe Chadwick is in favor.
Fred Russo,
Fred Russo is in favor.
Joe Vayuzo,
Joe Vayuso in favor.
Marcy,
Marcy's in favor.
and Chair is also in favor. So that application is approved. So let's take up the grading application. And again, Evan has also put his recommendations for this application in front of us. It's posting us on the screen in front of us. It's with an approval with one condition that has three parts. Anything you want to highlight in that, Evan?
No, that all these conditions are related to the erosion control measures and the stockpile area.
Great. That said, if someone will make a motion to approve the 6.8 grading application with the conditions in the staff report, that's Evan has recommended the one condition with three parts.
Chadwick makes that motion.
Motion to approve by Joe Chadwick. Is there a second?
Vayuso seconds.
Joe Vayuzo seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Joe Chadwick,
Joe Chadwick is in favor.
Fred Russo,
Fred Russo in favor.
Joe Vayuzo,
Joe Vayuso in favor.
Marcy,
Marcy's in favor.
and Chair is also in favor. So those applications are approved. Moving on then with our agenda, I think the minutes indicate of approval of September 19th minutes, and that's actually tonight, so we're not going to approve tonight's minutes. I think the September 5th minutes need some cleaning up a bit, so I think we'll just skip on the minutes. Does that make sense, Harry?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Any correspondence?
No, we have no correspondence tonight.
Okay. Old business. There's 4 items listed under old business, and I believe they all have public hearings scheduled. Items 1 or 2 are the continuation of the public hearing at 1201 West Main. That's scheduled for our next meeting. Item 3, that we're going to open the public hearing on at our next meeting, and item 4 is scheduled for a public hearing at our October 17th meeting. Anything on any of those you want to comment on, Harry?
No.
Okay. And then for new business, looks like there's 4 items on new business. And again, we just, looks like they all need public hearings. Is that correct? So we would schedule them, or does the first one need a public hearing? Yes, if it's 6.8, yes, it does. Yeah, so we will just schedule those after, in accordance, in consultation with the chair, after the staff has had a chance to review them and figures an appropriate time. So anything you need to highlight any of the new business, Gary?
No, I don't. One of these is coming back, so we will work that out in terms of the status of the applications once we take another look at them and when might be appropriate dates for public hearings.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think one of them is connected actually with item number 1 of the public hearings here. So
Yeah, but that would likely be on the 17th when the other one is being continued. Just we sort of work that one out.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
most of the other ones came in within the last few days.
Sure. Okay. And going to other business planners report, what's going on?
I have gotten out a request for proposal for a planning consultant to pick up the rework of the landscaping section of the regulations, zoning regulations. You may recall there's been a group meeting. We did not get to meet last month, but we've been meeting, I think, 4 or 5 times now. And want to have that person firm on board, and that would responses due October 7th. Probably have them hopefully under contract by the end of October, at the latest. I'm planning on one of the first tasks being their meeting with that landscaping group as well as the Planning and Zoning Commission itself. I've set the request for proposal up so that we'll get separate prices for adding on to the work of the landscaping section, several of the other sections of the basic standards, chapter 6, if you will, of the zoning regulations. So depending on what it's going to potentially cost, we'll figure out how much we could get done. So I would certainly want commission's input on what areas we select. So we'll bring that back to you before get a contract, probably, hopefully the second meeting in October. We would have an idea of that and get that underway. So that would be exciting. I'm trying to turn my attention back to, if I can, cleaning up that package of amendments we talked about early last summer. Well, let's call it late spring, really, in May, and get that back. I think the decision, as I recall, was clean these things up and get it out for a public hearing, and with the understanding that the commission could always modify, anything it wanted to modify during the public hearing process. But it sounded like the items we have on there, everyone was pretty clear about, except for a couple things I was going to either do a little more research on or tweak up a little bit. So that's really all I've got. I don't know if you have anything you want to mention I'm forgetting or anything else.
Nope.
Okay. So I guess we have a fairly early night in comparison to what's going on recently.
Yeah, I just have one question.
Sure.
I think in the past I've raised, are any commissions in the town doing hybrid meetings? Has there been any progress to even make that possible if we ever wanted to do that?
I don't know of any commission that's doing that in a true hybrid meeting. We've had some discussions in the past to some degree with the IT department. And I know we were going to schedule a meeting, which frankly we never did over the summer. So I will try and move ahead with that. I did mention that to a few folks here, and I just haven't pulled it together with the executive assistant to the first selectman. So try and do that.
Okay, it may be a process. Just so people know, I know I've been at commission in other towns where it's actually can do it. I've seen someone chairing a meeting from Florida, and other commission members were sitting there, and it seemed to work seamlessly if you have the right setup. And some people may say, hey, I actually want to be in the presence and I want to do it. And I don't know, Joe Vayuzo, we can't even. I miss seeing your face, Joe. So
I appreciate that comment. I understand. Would you mind sharing what community? Because it'd be helpful, possibly, to.
Where I saw it done,
let me know.
Where I saw it done very well was in Monroe.
Monroe.
They had a huge screen, so you could actually see it. It was projected like on a wall.
Okay.
And it was very visible. And a lot of some of the stuff was done remotely. Some of the applications were actually done remotely, and it was truly hybrid. It seemed to go pretty smoothly.
All right, great.
Okay.
So we'll try to make some progress on that.
Yeah, or just find out.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments from anyone?
Quick question on statutory training.
Oh yeah.
is there going to be anything organized, or are we just scavenging this stuff for ourselves?
I think everyone is set. I think it's a 2-year window, but I can
Okay.
try to regroup on that with the person from, I think it's the UConn's Clear program, is, I think, theoretically the coordinator of most of the efforts that are out statewide. So I'll, and there's some, everything they're doing, I believe they're recording almost everything, unless it's frankly through the Bar Association. Sorry, Chuck. I think it's kept proprietary or something at that level, as far as I know. You can tell me better than I know, but so I'll pull together at least some links to programs that are out there for anyone to review at your leisure. And then I think we were doing a pretty good job. We sort of fell apart, frankly, last spring, and once we were all grouped up and done, getting the word out. So I'll try and do a better job of that.
Well, the Bar
Yeah.
Association thing is great, but that's only every other year. And if the requirement is every other year, that's fine. It's, it's a good substantive guaranteed way to do it, but
Yeah. Well, it's only 4 hours. I think they were trying to pull together a program that frankly was 4 hours. That had all the requirements covered. And this is the Clear project, I think, at UConn. So I will track that down and try to get you more information.
Didn't they amend the statute to make it every other year? As opposed to
I
every
think they did. I think it's
Yeah.
every 2 years now. So I think everyone was good as of last December, as far as I recall.
Yeah. The bar one, I think we have a date for the bar one. It's like March 2025.
Oh, this is what we used to be called the Wesleyan.
Right.
yeah.
March 25th.
March somewhere. I don't know the specific date.
That's
It's
the
somewhere.
usual date. Okay.
Yeah, it's a Saturday in March, and there's been stuff circulating about it. So
All right. Yeah, if anything is happening sooner, and like I said, I'll try to get some links together of things that have already happened that qualify. That anyone can look at as you wish.
thank you, Joe, Harry. Anyone have anything else? If not, then someone will make a motion to adjourn.
Fred Russo will make that motion.
Motion to adjourn by Fred. Is there a second?
Marcy, second.
Second, Marcy. Further discussion. All those in favor: Joe Chadwick,
Joe Chadwick is in favor.
Fred Russo,
Fred Russo's in favor.
Joe Vayuzo,
Joe Vayuso in favor.
Marcy,
Marcy's in favor.
and Chair's also in favor. So we're adjourned. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Hey, thank you.
Aye.
This
Good night,
program
everybody.
was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.